and politicians getting caught grabbing asses. She's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hello, everybody. Hope that you're having a lovely evening and hope that you're happy, healthy, and safe wherever you are and whenever you're listening to the show, because you might not be listening live. You might be listening later in the evenings on 1150 KKNW in Seattle, or maybe listening to one of our podcasts, which you can find wherever you listen to your podcasts. We have a great show coming up today. Today's, oh my God, I don't know what day it is. Is it Tuesday? Let's go with Tuesday. Let's just say that and accept it as reality. Okay, fine. It's Tuesday. I was wrapping up my work day as I was listening to David Hochberg. Lady B, were you listening when David Hochberg was on? And I was texting him too because Joan was fired up. She's going on vacation, but she just got her property tax, bill, and it was a lot. Were you listening to that part of the show?
No, I missed that.
Oh my God. And I wanted to text David because he kept going after one of the listeners that accused him of doing the talking points for Fox News. And I wanted to call him. I wanted to text him and be like, okay, I also can be a little bit snarky. We have to let Ed off the hook. But I don't know if this resonates for folks, but there was something in what David was talking about that actually kind of dovetails to a conversation that Joan was having yesterday with Reform Illinois. While we are a blue state, and I'm proud, I am a Democrat because the Democratic Party most closely resembles the values that I embrace. Working class rights, reproductive rights for women. Doing our best, making sure that there are services available for people who need them the most. Access to healthcare, education, all those things. Right. However, one of the things that Reform Illinois talked about yesterday is that, the ethics, the inability of our legislature to pass ethics reform is in part because they really enjoy their stranglehold on power in the state of Illinois.
Yes, they do.
Yes. So, and I've run into that buzzsaw, folks. I don't have to tell you, but it is significant. They can be extremely, it's a lot. And I want to remind folks, one of the things that I was just telling one of my coworkers is that in Illinois, 30% of the people who are in Springfield in your General Assembly start out as being appointed. And once they are appointed, yes, they run for election. But if you consider running as a Democrat, you are very strongly urged to not do so. Things like wait your turn. Because, really? And the other reason, it's a whole, not this time, Patty, was what I was told when, don't do it. They told me that if I ran in 2020, it would be political suicide. And that, I would, because you're going against the wishes of the Democratic Party. Okay. Once somebody's appointed, that's their person. They're the incumbent. I talked to President John Cullerton, and because I was considering the Senate seat, or I was trying to decide. I knew I was going to run. I knew that I wanted to be behind those closed doors, where decisions for families like yours and mine specifically, right, are made. And while parents like us who have children with disabilities, I'm not saying it was my only issue. It was one that is not communicated and shared at the level that we need to have reflected in Springfield. Right. And my goal was to work hard to make sure that everybody felt better and safer and be able to thrive here. And that included property taxes, our pension payments, our pension system, all of those things, so that this state is doing better, so that our children and our family members, the people that we love and people with disabilities, aren't the last in line to be able to be supported because we have so many other obligations and we're struggling in so many other places. And one of the things I didn't mention on Saturday, because we were celebrating, I was talking to the two state electeds, is that Illinois continues to be one of the worst states in the country when it comes to being able to provide services for people with disabilities. So, yes, at any rate, so those are all actually kind of the same conversation. Sometimes we hear things because they're said with a tone that is, sounds too critical. I'm telling, and I don't think Dave prefaced it with he mentioned that he's a registered Democrat or he votes Democrat, but he's frustrated. And the other thing that they didn't mention is there are quite a few elected representatives and senators who are property tax attorneys who work for these corporations who do commercial real estate tax. And then, as Dave was mentioning, that then puts the burden when they're able to work that with them and behind closed doors, it puts that burden back on residents.
Right.
So, do you know what I mean? What do you think when Dave gets fired up? Do you get a little nervous for his heart rate?
Yes. Because his voice.
Woo! I thought he was yelling at me.
Right.
It's like, David. Yeah, he's very blunt.
Yes.
Yeah, he has no smooth edges when he's talking about these things.
No.
And when I was running for office, we had a couple conversations. We talked about property taxes, and we talked about but he was very supportive. And everyone needs to take a break sometimes when David's on. Because I also want to remind folks, he helped support these conversations. He wouldn't be supporting us if he didn't believe in what the conversations were about. Right. So, just saying, because I'm like, he's not buying airtime so he could, I don't know, just saying. At any rate, we have a great show coming up today. I'm so glad that you guys are joining us. And for folks who are listening in other places, David Hochberg is a realtor and helps people with refinancing, with figuring out how to make sure that they are able to afford a home, get into a house. So I've known him for a decade, and I used to get so nervous when he would come on. I'm like, "Are you going to yell?" And he would come on in the middle of the night with me too, when I had my show. In the evenings. Coming up at 6 o'clock, I just want to let folks know we are going to be welcoming former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who has a book out, A Life Made from Scratch. She also is a nonprofit CEO. So we'll talk to her at 6 o'clock. Coming up at 5:30, we have an interview with Monica Ramirez, who is also an activist. She's an author and civil rights attorney for justice for migrant women, championing migrant and rural women's right to live and work with dignity and without fear of sexual violence. And that reminds me, yesterday, I want to thank a listener, and I apologize. I had it in the screen in front of me, and there's so many things going on. But yesterday was a day of acknowledging and amplifying the number of Native American women who go missing or are killed, and that was yesterday. I know there's so many things that. We have these national days of awareness, whether it's, autism or it was also, I also did not mention yesterday that it was National Fallen Firefighter Day, which lasted from Friday through yesterday. That was why the flags around the state were at half mast, including in memory of Captain David Meyer, who passed away, and his burial was last Tuesday. And I also wrote a little bit about that, but there is a astounding number of Native American women who are abducted, who are murdered, and I do want to find a way to have those conversations and perhaps talk to some experts about that. So thank you so much for reminding me that. It is called Red Dress Day, which honors murdered, missing Indigenous women. The population of Native American women, women in the Native American communities face murder rates that are 10 times higher than the national average, which is absolutely mind blowing to me. So again, thank you to our listener, and I apologize for not addressing that yesterday. And I don't. I don't want to forget about what we have coming up for the rest of the week, because we have some upcoming guests that I'm excited about. We have tomorrow musician Chris Jones, who will be in town for some performances, will be joining us again. Of course, he's basically our correspondent from Canada, and I want to talk a little bit about what happened today with the new Prime Minister. Before President Trump even sat down with the Prime Minister of Canada, he went on a tirade about Canada, we subsidize them, they owe us, and still talking about making them the 51st state when he's going to bring. How do you trash talk somebody and then bring them into the Oval Office?
Only Donald Trump can do that.
I know.
He goes on this, I don't know, it's like a 2-year-old throwing a temper tantrum, and then somehow figures out, okay, we'll do this or something. I don't know.
It's so weird.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that Prime Minister Carney was like, "We are not for sale."
Right.
What's next? What else you got? Yeah. Yep. He said, despite the president's repeated proposals to annex the northern neighbor, or our northern neighbor, as a 51st state, he said that Canada not for sale. Yeah. Hey.
There you go. I'm glad.
Oh my God! It is it just never stops with these folks. It is absolutely insane. I also did you see that he denies even having shared the picture of himself as Pope, even though it's on his social media platform. I believe it was also shared by the White House.
Right.
And it's not even like. He distanced himself by saying he didn't see it or he didn't know anything about it, but then says that the Catholics aren't really complaining about it, which they were pointing out how disrespectful it is. So
he knew, and yeah, he was very disrespectful.
Yeah,
after the Pope had died.
Right.
Come on, really?
I'm a little bit concerned because I really loved Pope Francis and the ideals that he espoused and shared. I mean, from the moment he took his position, he started talking about helping the poor, helping people who are sick. He said that people who are out protesting in front of abortion clinics, he basically told them to take it down a notch.
Yeah.
That this doesn't yes, he didn't support abortion, but that people should not feel threatened when they go to seek care.
Right.
I was like, oh, who's this guy? So I'm a little bit concerned because it sounds as though they want to go. I don't know. They're saying moderate, but the one of the guys apparently that's in the I don't know how you phrase these sort of moments. I guess the candidate that seems to have the lead. There's like an odds maker in England who's saying that there's someone from the Philippines who seems to be taking the lead, and he has said things about how gay marriage is an atrocity and passing any legislation is an offense to humanity, kind of a thing. So we'll see what happens there. But at any rate, let me take a moment to thank our sponsors before we take a break and take some of your phone calls. I want to thank Source Solar. Go to source.solar and make an appointment. Maybe it's time for you to get solar panels on your house or your business, and join over 100,000 happy customers in the Chicagoland area. And go to the Heartland Signal website, and you can check out the interview I did with Peter and Warren a few weeks ago. There's actually 2 interviews there. They answer a lot of questions about getting solar panels on your house, as well as what's going on with companies like theirs with the looming supply chain challenges with the tariffs, which is something else we have to talk about. Also want to let you know that I will be broadcasting live from the Madison Tap Room at Minocqua Brewing Company. A really fun tap room. If you guys can make the road trip, or if you're in the area, come see us from 5 to 7 at the Minocqua Brewing Tap Room in Madison, Wisconsin. You can also follow Minocqua Brewing Company on Facebook. Go to their website, minocquabrewingcompany.com, and check out all their great progressive beers and wines and coffee. There's a lot of non-alcoholic beverages also available, including Nope Seltzer, and he's got some great t-shirts and hats that I think you'll really appreciate. Also want to thank our friends at Kids Above All. We do have a comedy show coming up on June 5th at the Greenhouse Theater. That's on June 5th. Go to kidsaboveall.org to get your tickets, which reminds me, I will be at the Comedy Plex this Friday in Oak Park. We still have some tickets left, but they are going pretty fast. It's a show called Moms Who Drink and Swear, because it's Mother's Day weekend, and so come cut loose with us on a Friday night. Then we'll take a break here and take your phone calls when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal and KKNW 1150 in Seattle, Washington.
Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive.
What we do here at WCPT is more important than ever. And in addition to telling you about the latest outrage, I hope we all also offer you hope. You're not alone. We're all in this together. We are all resisting together. We are all going to work for the causes that are near and dear to our hearts.
Joan Esposito, weekday afternoons 2 to 5 on WCPT 820.
Hi, my dad founded Chicago Community Acupuncture.
My dad did too.
That's because we're sisters.
Yeah, but it's true.
You know, acupuncture has helped billions of people, but some people are still afraid of it.
Why?
They're afraid it'll hurt, or that it won't do anything to help them.
That's silly. We get acupuncture all the time, and it's like less than a mosquito bite. And everyone knows that acupuncture can help a bunch of different problems.
Not everyone knows that.
Someone should tell them.
I think you just did.
So if you'd like to experience top quality acupuncture at half the price of other places, Come visit us at Chicago Community Acupuncture at Milwaukee Devine and Nagel. Call 773-853-0920, 773-853-0920, or our website, Chi-Com Acu.
Chico Maku.
CHICOMACU.com.
Or CHICOMACU.com. Chico Maku.
Either way, we'd love to help you. Start feeling better today.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
We need to speak out about this.
At 773-763-9278.
Hello.
It's Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
And when you call, you will be reaching us on the Credo mobile phone and text line, which is at 773-763-9278. Credo Mobile, a progressive phone company that is better for all people and the planet. And they're showing as much by supporting the conversations we have here at WCPT, because we do need to speak out. It does work. Let's see. Let me just want to grab this one text of Lady B, because it's for you. It is a delight to hear more from Lady B. Thank you, Lady B, for and everybody for making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I know. I was so sad there for months. I'm like, I thought we had this fixed. So we do have it fixed again.
It's fixed.
We'll stay on top of it. Thank you. Let's get to Jim in Chicago. Jim, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hi, Patty. Just real quick, a Pope story. I had a renegade friend for years, a priest, and he had bet that the Pope wouldn't be Italian. Now, they were Italian for centuries. So we were playing cards late that night at the rectory. It had to be about 3 o'clock in the morning. And he was in the game, and I heard him coming up. He had a few drinks with him. He said, "Thank God for the Polish." he bet a lot of money that it wouldn't be Italian. You know?
Boy. Yeah. Oh, my God.
But another thing, I was thinking about Rome. If you ever been to Rome, one of the most amazing sights in Rome is St. Peter's tomb. You go there, and it's this like plexiglass over this greenish kind of just this otherworldly tent. But you have a feeling you could step through that plexiglass into eternity. But that's not the reason I called, Patty, is what is the Republican Party? When I grew up, I would go back to Eisenhower. You know, I knew Republicans and so on and so forth. Now you've got conservatives. They weren't conservatives, and they were just strictly Republicans. Now they're conservatives. Then they're MAGA. Then they're Republicans. And then they've adopted this Project 2025. And I would bet that nobody can comprehend it. I heard a doctor late last night on Matt's show, filling host, and he read it. He had to read it 3 or 4 times and saying how it's going to affect our medical care in the United States, how they're going to let it fall down on the job, more or less. They couldn't believe it. My point is, Patty, the Republicans today are adapting at something they don't even understand. They don't comprehend this document.
No,
and
not at all.
Is it constitutional? That's the other point. If it was brought to a test, is it really constitutional to introduce a sweeping program that affects all Americans like this? I mean, I would argue that it isn't, but we have the Roberts Court, who gave, through some serendipity or they were clairvoyant or wherever the case may be, they gave this, whatever you want to call them, complete authority over Americans. They put them above the law.
Yeah.
Which is unconstitutional on its face also.
I know.
But then I don't
maddening.
know.
It's maddening, Jim. I'm just saying.
I know.
No, it's just like, oh, God. I know.
I know. I know you know.
No, I mean, it's just hard saying the things that are true. Like so many things that they're doing, right? Like, look, for example, I don't know if you saw this earlier today, but Dr. Oz is talking about the parts of Medicaid that he wants to make sure that we're cutting, which is the expansion, right? People who participate in the Affordable Care Act and are get some of that funding from Medicaid. He calls people like that aren't older or disabled. He's like, there's able-bodied people who can pay for this. The reason it takes such a big chunk out of their income, that's why it's subsidized, because insurance and health care cost so much. Anyway, I'm just yes.
Yeah, but real quick, Ron calls up Jones' show, and he had the funniest line I heard since he's been inaugurated. He said, "We've got Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz. Where's Dr. Chivago?"
Oh, boy. Yeah, right?
You know what I thought they was
yeah, right.
These guys. I mean, they're both quacks. They're both out now quacks.
Yeah.
Dr. Phil has got no credentials. Go ahead.
Before I forget, did you see that the Republicans they want to have Dr. Fauci be one of the prisoners at Alcatraz? There's a reason why Biden gave the pardons.
I know, but Fauci, who's brilliant. But I did have a friend in Alcatraz.
Did you really? Of course you did, Jim.
Yeah. He was a paint rapper in Chicago. Great guy.
I have to interview Jim, you guys. I think there's a chapter in some. There's a book on it, Jim.
Yeah, but anyway, but he was a great friend of mine, and. I saw him at Mass one day in Elk Grove Village, and we went to a bar, and he was telling me about Alcatraz, and he used to make the booze there. They ferment the apples, the apples and stuff like that. And he made the booze.
Sure.
That's great. But anyway, I mean, think about the situation we're in. We're being attacked. If this was a game show,
I know.
You could put down every category Americans are going through, and they're trying to affect all of them. Anyway, thanks a million.
Thanks so much. Take care. Let me get through these calls. Nancy's calling from Oak Lawn. Hey, Nancy, what's on your mind, my friend?
Oh, there's too much on my mind.
You get fired up. Are you able to breathe? I know you get fired up. You're so frustrated. And I'm so sorry because you work so hard for these campaigns and for Democrats.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to have my favorite on, Marie Newman, who got screwed out of her position too. And I was canvassing for her and everything.
Do you want to call back? You can call when she's on if you want to call back while she's on the air.
No, that's okay. I think she was on the last time. I think I got through then.
Okay.
What I wanted to say was, first of all, I agree completely with you about Illinois and all that. But it's all over. It's federal.
Yep.
Then once they get into those positions, we have an undemocratic system to begin with, and nothing's going to change, and the majority will never win if they don't start making changes, which they won't do because they all have the power and they're not going to give it up. And it's a vicious circle, and it's a catch-22, and it just keeps on going.
Yeah.
And the other thing I had to say was that AP News that you have on at the on the hour or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't care for that either. This last hour, they played the part with the Prime Minister and the felon. And they played the part where the Prime Minister said, that Canada's not for sale. And then the felon comes up with, oh, never say never. And they cut it off there. Whereas the Prime Minister answered that fat freaking felon.
Yeah.
And I call him Triple F. Anyway, he answered him, and he said, never, never, never. And that's where, that little chicken, no guts, although he has a big one, and when he faces people, he never, he backs down all the time because he's a bully. He's a wimp.
Yep. I know.
I just don't see how we got, how they allowed him to desecrate our White House, not only once but twice. He could have been beaten both times, and he should have been beaten the first time so that we wouldn't have this disgusting disaster in front of us now.
I know.
And I don't see where we're going to go from here. Who's stopping them? Nobody's stopping them. They're doing everything they want to do.
I think that people. So I don't know if you get a chance, try to get the newsletter, or I'll try to figure out a way to share. It's on my Facebook page. I don't know if you're on Facebook at all, Nancy, but I wrote a column on Monday, and that was my last line. Who's gonna stop him? And I don't think people like that as the last line. Like most of my pieces, I try to be like encouraging, like get out there and fight. But yeah, I'm with you. Like, who's going to stop him? They're getting everything they want.
You know whose words ring in my head all the time? I listen to Tom Hartman, I listen to Joan, I listen to you, and these words ring in my head constantly. And when I do watch MSNBC, I've cut back on a lot ever since the election because they screwed that up again. Anyway, the words that ring in my head all the time are the late, great Joe Madison. What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
Because he asks that question all the time, and nobody's answering. I'm sick of this wash, rinse, repeat comments that I hear every day on the radio, on TV, everything. All they do is tell us what he's doing. What are you going to do to stop him?
Yep. I know. I agree with you. What are you going to do? Thank you, Nancy. We both have to take a deep breath tonight. Go outside and take some deep, beautiful.
Listening.
Of course, adore you, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do. Thank you. Let's take a break here. When we come back, we are going to be joined by someone who's doing a lot of. We're talking about, we don't necessarily have the people in place to stop or do more, but we do have people who are doing the work of helping others. And Monica Ramirez is going to join us and talk about justice for migrant women. More after this on WCPT and KKNW.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low of 54 degrees. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 61 degrees and winds out of the north at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 54 and northeast winds at 10 to 20. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 59 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high of 65 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high temperature around 63. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 77.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter. Amy Goodman reports on the news stories rarely covered by the corporate media. Democracy Now!
The UN's Humanitarian Affairs Office warned Palestinian children are at high risk of injury or death from unexploded ordnance left after more than 13 months of Israeli attacks. 8-year-old Mohammed Karmash, this is his mother.
No one was there to tell him that these are explosives that the Israelis throw.
Democracy Now! Weekday evenings at 10 on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
WCPT 20th Anniversary Replay 2015.
Hey, welcome back to Out Chicago. We're talking about hair. And you know whose hair is always going to be on topic?
Hillary.
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Just because she's a lady, we got to talk about how old she is, what she looks like, and what she's wearing.
Never talk about men's hair.
We don't do that at all. But but she threw her hat into the ring officially, announcing that she will be running for president in 2016. I say yay.
Scott and I love her.
That is awesome. I want her to actually be the Khaleesi. I wanted to have her just unleash all over Congress. I just want her to unleash her dragons.
She ain't gonna put up with any, what?
No. Those memes that were running around of her, on her BlackBerry, the "I got this" meme. That right there is enough reason to vote for her.
That's right.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our conversation. And we are honored to welcome to the show from Justice for Women. You can go to justiceforwomen.org to learn more about the work they do. And we are joined by Monica Ramirez. Monica, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing okay. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Right? I shouldn't even ask. Mostly I ask people if they're hydrating, but it's a weird question to ask someone I've never met because it's hard to ask someone how they're doing considering how crazy things are right now. So I'd love to learn more about you. Where did you grow up, my friend?
So I was born, raised, and currently live in a little town called Fremont, Ohio, which is like 4 hours or so from Chicago.
Okay, well, I've worked a lot in Ohio, and I love the people there, and I'm curious, what got you involved in this kind of work? You're a lawyer, correct?
I am a lawyer. I'm a civil rights attorney, and I grew up in the work, really. I come from a migrant farm worker family in Ohio, just like in Illinois and other places. There are lots of migrant workers who travel there each year to, pick the crops. And so my family traveled here to Ohio and eventually settled out. My family used to pick cucumber and tomato and lots of other things, and the little town where I grew up is where my family settled.
And were you inspired by, as a child, like seeing how people were treated? Was this something that you kind of carried with you, seeing how hard they worked and how they, some of the challenges that they encountered, whether it was from people in the community or by people that hired them?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. One, just generally the conditions were bad when my parents and grandparents, et cetera, were working in the fields. Like the housing is often very bad. They get sprayed with pesticides, low pay, or sometimes wage theft is an issue. So all those issues were issues that some of my family members experienced, but then also my parents raised me to understand that those were continuing problems, and unfortunately they still exist today. So that was part of it. But my area of expertise as an attorney is extremely specific. I've spent my time as an attorney representing migrant women who are victims of sexual violence at work. And I started my first legal projects when I was in Florida and have done that work nationally now. And there are survivors of sexual violence in my family. I identify as a violence survivor myself, and so that's a very personal issue. And I decided to focus on that work specifically because at the time there was not a legal project that existed to address that specific problem, even though it's a rampant problem for farm worker women.
And I know that that it is difficult for any woman to be able to get justice in any workplace. And when you're a migrant, when your citizenship status or your residency status is even more vulnerable, that puts you in a space of being targeted because the attacker, the person people that are predators, know that you're vulnerable, right? That it's going to be easier for them to get away with it.
Yeah, that's right. I always call the women who I represent the quote-unquote perfect victim because the perpetrators think that they can do whatever they want and get away with it because they're not going to come forward if they're undocumented, if anyone in their family's undocumented, they're dependent on the wages, they need the jobs. They have all these terrible pressures that are weighing on them that keep them silent. And often if they're not born in the United States, they're born in some other country, they don't know the legal system and they don't know their rights. There's a lot of very valid reasons that these women never come forward, and those are the reasons that the perpetrators exploit them.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking, and I'm sure it's difficult for people to hear, and yet we need to know. What are some of the ways in which folks can be more aware and learn more? I mean, I would assume that visiting justiceforwomen.org is one place to learn more. What would you recommend people do in order to challenge our electeds to do more and to build better protections for migrant women?
Well, I think first we have to talk about the conditions because these aren't problems of the past. These are problems of the present. People currently are being exploited economically and sexually in the fields and in other workplaces across our country. And so we need to make sure political leaders know that these are present problems and that we expect them to take action on them. We don't want people to ignore them. Farm workers in our country still do not have the same basic legal protections as all other working people for over 80 years. They've been denied the same basic protections as other people. So we need political leaders to know that we're paying attention, that we know that there's more to be done when it comes to the rights and protections for these community members, and that we as conscious consumers are going to hold the people that we're buying our products from accountable when we hear that wrong has taken place. And so, it's really important for folks on the ground to know that your purchasing power really does mean a lot, and buying local is important because then you can know exactly where your food is coming from. You can ask the local farmer about, their workforce and how things are going, how their season is going. And it's super important for us to be connected to the place and the people that our food is coming from.
Is there some place for people, in addition to shopping local? I work at I volunteer at a farmer's market, and we're there several times a month. And so we know some of the farmers, and I think you're absolutely right to have that ability to have conversations with the folks that are running the farms is helpful. But is there some place that people can go to find out if is there some sort of database where there are bosses who are perhaps adhering to guidelines and being more proactive in protecting the women and the migrant women in particular who work for them?
Yeah, certainly the United Farm Workers, which is an important organization in our country, it's the first organization to organize farm workers, started by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. They have created a system by which they put their stamp of approval on products that are from farms they consider to be good workplaces. That's a place where people can look. It's just ufw.org. And then also I would recommend that they look at local organizations. In Illinois, there are great organizations that are working with farm workers. Check out who they're supporting. Check out who's on their website as people who are collaborators with them. And then, I think the other organization that people should check out is the Coalition of Immokalee Workers. They're based in Immokalee, Florida, but they've done tremendous work to try to improve working conditions by having the workers set the standards for the workplaces, working in conjunction with growers. They were the ones that were able to get 5 pennies more a pound for the tomatoes that were being picked in Florida, but they've now gone on to successfully improve conditions for farm workers working with other crops in addition to tomatoes. So there are definitely orgs out there that are doing the work. Certainly look at our website, justiceforwomen.org, because our work is focused on the conditions of women and girls, because there are women who are working in agriculture and in other places, in restaurants, hotels, and lots of other workplaces where migrant women are finding these opportunities. And so a lot of the information on our website speaks to how we can support them, some of the great projects that are being done. And, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and our organization has done a lot of work to uplift the issue of mental health in the workplace, because it's really difficult to be a working person in our country with so many pressures and rising costs. And so we want people to know that that's an issue that we need to be taking seriously, that political leaders need to do more on. And we have a report and some other great resources on our website related to that topic.
How have things changed? I guess I in my mind, I would imagine that things are even worse at a level that I can't imagine truly under this administration. What are you dealing with right now with people who are scared at a level that we haven't seen in our lifetimes when it comes to mass deportations, ICE, and law enforcement?
Yeah, you're right. People are terrified, and they're terrified that at any moment, even if they are a U.S. citizen, and we're not talking about only immigrant community members, U.S. citizens, permanent residents, et cetera, everybody's afraid right now. Our job is to keep people informed and to keep people calm. So that is what we've been focusing our time on, is educating people about their rights, helping people to be prepared to get all their paperwork in order should something happen to them and their families. And, we have got to keep telling the stories about the courageous people who are doing important work every single day, from the construction workers who are building our roads and bridges, to the domestic workers who are caring for our families, to the farm workers who are feeding us. We've got to keep telling their stories, because people have got to be reminded of the important function they play in our society. And the folks that we serve need to hear us telling the stories of pride and telling the stories of how powerful and important they are, because right now they are scared and they're consuming a lot of really negative messaging, and we cannot allow their spirits to be broken, because that's what people want. People want them to be stomped on and broken. And, right now that there's a call to have people self-deport. Well, first of all,
yep.
It's just too much. It's too much, and it's really difficult for people to hear this messaging all the time. And we're talking about mixed status families that have, they maybe someone in their family is undocumented, but they're U.S. citizens, and they're people who have other kinds of visas. And we just got to keep reminding people that we see them, we appreciate them, we're fighting for them, and that we're not going to give up. And we need to surround them and let them know that people like us are rooting for them, and we're going to do everything we can to push back.
I am so grateful to hear you say that. What can we do to support? My mother came to the United States from Coahuila, Mexico. Well, from Mexico City, and I know that she's an American citizen. At 90, I'm hoping they're not going after our abuelitas, but. What can we do to support our friends, our neighbors, people in our community that might be vulnerable to being rounded up? Because it seems as though, as we've seen, due process is being denied to people. Is there
right? Well, first of all, my family's from Coahuila too, so that's what we have in common.
Ciudad Acuña. I don't know where your family's from. Sorry, that's wonderful. I never talked to anybody from Coahuila. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. So I think that we need to, we have a lot of Know Your Rights information that's on our website. There are other groups like the National Immigration Law Center, NILC.org, ACLU, et cetera. Groups have information on our websites about rights, pamphlets and things. Print them out, share them with people that you think could use them. They're the red cards that people have been giving out to tell people what to do if they encounter if they have questions about their immigration rights, et cetera. So get those resources and share them with people so that everyone knows. And not just people who you think are immigrants, but really all of us as community members need to know what people's rights are. So I would say that's one. Two, I think we need to, right now, we really need to double down on supporting the community organizations that are wherever you are. Support them, because they're the first stop for a community member in need. And so they need to be resourced. And the resourcing comes in lots of ways. It's not just money. You were talking about volunteering earlier. That's just as important. We need to make sure that there are boots on the ground to be able to respond if there is a crisis. And so get to know the local organizations that are doing work on behalf of the immigrant community and on other issues that you care about. That's number two. And then, talk to the political leaders in your districts, because one of the things that we're seeing is that people are afraid to speak out right now. People are afraid to, make any waves, et cetera, because they don't want to experience retribution. They don't want to experience a retaliation. And the more of us who speak out in unison as a collective, the more protected we will be. But we cannot be silent in this time. This is not a time to be quiet. And so I would say using the power of your voice, using your power of, community, that is really critical in this moment.
Oh, amen. Everything Monica Ramirez just said. Go to justiceforwomen.org. That's justiceforwomen.org. Monica, I want you to reach out anytime, and we'll reach out again too. But if there's something that comes out that comes up that you want to make sure we're aware of, or we can get engaged, please do not hesitate to reach out. We're so grateful for the work that you do, and everyone at Justice for Women.
Thank you so much. Have a great night. Take care.
We'll have to see if we're related. All right.
Yeah, really.
I don't, which part of Coahuila? Which town?
So my family actually left Coahuila 3 generations ago, and I've never been back to know. So you need to take me back so I can get to know it.
Oh, there you go. Well, my mom would have to take us both back.
That sounds good.
Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I do need to meet you, by the way. I do. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
Let's thank you. Man, she's amazing. Let's have her back. I want her in studio. We have to go to Ohio is what we'll have to do. I don't think it's a problem. All right, let's take a break here. When we come back, former Congresswoman Marie Newman's going to join us. We'll take your phone calls as well. But I'm going to see if she wants to come in early, because why not? More after this. Sorry, Lady B, I'm late. More in a moment.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
They told us nothing but lies.
These timeshare thieves out there are terrible.
They bullied us.
Our timeshare is all a scam.
They stole from us. They were thieves.
I was completely taken advantage of.
Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, founder and CEO of Wesley Financial Group, and I know the tough spot you're in. Are you asking yourself, why did I buy that timeshare? I'll tell you why, because that presentation wasn't a normal sales pitch. It was a show to convince you that timeshare is a great investment. They told you it was available today and today only. They said you're foolish if you don't buy, and unfortunately, you believed them. We get over 3,000 complaints a week from folks just like you that were misled into buying a timeshare. Give us a call. I guarantee you, if we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-935-3377. 800-935-3377. 800-935-3377.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group. WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts matter.
Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for continuing to join us as we drive it home. I'm very excited to welcome a Congresswoman. Now, I know everyone says former Congresswoman, but technically we're supposed to call you Congresswoman because it's your last elected office. Isn't that correct?
Sure, but also you can always call me Marie.
I know. But you earned it. You earned...
You're sweet, but I answer to anything.
I don't think I've ever called you Marie. So, hi. So you look amazing.
Oh, you're
sweet. Good to see you.
You're sweet.
I know you have a lot going on. Congratulations on the book. And I know you have an event coming up for a book signing that we want to tell folks about. But first, let them know the book is A Life Made from Scratch, available you can go to MarieNewmanStudio.com. Is that a good place to order?
That's great. And or Barnes & Noble, really anywhere. It's available.
I like that we don't name the other place anymore.
Right.
No.
I've
been very good about not ordering stuff.
Me too. My husband and I caught him kind of trying to sneak an Amazon order in, and I was went cuckoo on him the other day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I shop there, and then I look where I can buy it somewhere else. Do you know there's a great app called GoodsUniteUs.com? Yeah. And you can get an app or you can go to the website and then you can see how much each company, even like actors, like all kinds of people, how much money they give to either party.
Yeah.
And so you can support people who give more money to Democrats or even and you can, and it does even the research, like some companies that basically helped overturn Roe v. Wade and all that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I think I have to visit.
GoodsUniteUs.com.
I'm in.
Yes. I think you'd like that very much. So before we get started, I do need to take a phone call, but I didn't want to leave you in the conference room since you got here early. Yeah. So let's. Oh no, we lost him. I was going to go to our callers, and he gave up on us.
We're sorry.
I'm sorry. No, you don't. I'm sorry. It's my show. And so tell us first of all, the kind of work because one of our listeners, I don't know if you heard Nancy Collins. She's still angry. She's still salty that you were drawn out. I'm sure you get that a lot. I'm sure you get that from a lot of folks.
That's so funny. Yeah. No, it is. Really, this election has stirred something in a lot of people, I will tell you, because I am still, people are not giving, I keep telling everybody, we all landed in a good place, rah, rah, we're all good, let's be happy now. And people are like, no, I'm not. I'm holding a grudge. And I'm like, that's funny because I'm Irish and I can hold a grudge like nobody. And I had to work on it, after and authentically get to a place of forgiveness. And I did.
Okay. I would ask for tips if I wanted to forgive, but go ahead.
I have so many friends that are like, could you tell me? I said, you know what? You do have to work on it. I wish I could say that it was super easy. The next day I was like, kisses, bye. Yeah. But I had to work on it.
You also have to want to work on it.
Yeah.
I find that I'm a little bit more like the Hulk. Do you want to know my secret? I'm always angry.
But at least you don't go green. You have beautiful alabaster skin.
Appreciate that. I moisturize. I use toner. I use my serums, a little vitamin C. But I think that it says something when people are salty for you then, right? Because we when people get involved in campaigns, and Nancy who called from Oak Lawn, she gets involved in campaigns, and she works really hard, and those are the people who see up close, people like you who put their heart and soul in it that are coming from a good place. Yeah. And that's where I think she's talking about it. So I appreciate that you're not holding a grudge. I myself, not just for you, but also for myself. I don't even aspire to being in a better place.
I'm comfy right here.
I'm Petty Patty, and I have no problem with that. I will carry it for you. Give it to us, and you go on and do other things. How's that?
That's fun.
That's how I have conversations. So what drove you to write a book? Is this something you've had for a while in the back of your mind?
You know, it was so funny. I was coming out of Congress, and a few publishers approached me and said, Marie, we really like your story. It's so unique, and you've done a lot of things, and you've built a lot of things. And I was like, you know, I don't think I'd read that book. That sounds funny to me. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
you know?
boy. Okay.
And so my team was like, what is wrong with you? And they're like flicky fingering me in the head. And so we batted it around a little bit. And then I decided to write a little bit of it right after I left office to kind of figure out what's the theme here. And the theme was I have built some things from scratch out of necessity, right? So we as women, very frequently, when there's not a solution in the world that you see that you very much need, build it from scratch. It's been a motto of mine forever, right? A second motto that is mine is that, you know, when you're at the party and there's a big sticky ball in the middle of the room that's gross and smelly and no one wants to pick it up.
Oh, pick it up.
Yeah, pick that sucker up because you know what? No one else will.
Yep.
Pick up that sucker and fix it. You know, so I do a lot of that. So I wrote the book because I'm just like every other woman. Like, I've solved some things, but I am a good planner. Like, it's the only thing. Like, I'm not a leadership coach. I'm not any of these other things that book writers do. Right. But I am good at planning.
See, and this is why you have to give up grudges, because if you're going to plan, you have to collaborate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm not a good planner, so I don't need to. So I had the pleasure of interviewing you for an article I was writing for Fiscal Focus for the state of Illinois, and maybe we'll talk about this a little bit more later. But I was really drawn into your story about why you got involved, how you got involved in helping people in the community that I'm a part of with people who have disabilities. Yeah. Really remarkable when you told me about your mom taking you to these events and helping with clothing and food and all of that too. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your family and the impact that had.
So I had two cousins growing up that would now be diagnosed being on the autism spectrum. One profound, uneducable, and untrainable, really. And then the other very...
And when we say untrainable, we mean because they always want to train our kids for work and get them into the workplace and things like that.
Just not someone that would be dependent on others at all times, right?
Like my son, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So thank you for correcting me on that.
No, I know how people hear things.
Yeah, no, you're right. And what I always saw in my other cousin, she probably, had she been born 10 years later, probably would have benefited from new perspectives, new training programs, new education programs, new employment programs, right? So, but when we were very young, my mom would take us to Little City, and to work on stuffing envelopes or doing care packages and a bunch of things, right? So fast forward many, many decades later, and I was leaving Congress, and, I got a lot of job offers that all sounded great. I will tell you, everything sounded exciting to me. But something about Little City, when I was offered the CEO position there, I was like, you know what, that feels right. Now, this is interesting because I don't think we've talked about this since this happened. So my daughter that's 24 is a late diagnosis. So she's actually high functioning on the spectrum. And so we're doing some revisions around that right now, which are going very well. But
I'm so glad you have answers too, because sometimes when people don't know, right? Yeah. It's hard. They feel something.
We always felt there was a hole in the diagnosis because she had depression and anxiety, and we always thought it was kind of attached to her transition 11 years ago, right?
Right.
But there was much more to the story, and while I feel guilty that I did not see it, we had deep dive neuropsych testing this time, got to it, and we're all thrilled because it's always easier to deal with what you know instead of the unknown, right? So I thank Little City that was a great, I spent a year there and then resigned and went on and did some other things. But it was a great opportunity to solve problems in that community too. So I have had the great fortune of learning about all these different communities, including the intellectual disabilities community. And I have to tell you, it has been a thrill of a lifetime to do I'm so blessed to do all these things, right? My husband's always like, are you going to be like a train engineer next? Are like, what's next?
I know the feeling, and I will talk a little bit more too about and because we just found out my son has one of the rarest genetic disorders on the planet, and you're absolutely right. Having answers really fills in a lot of the just guilt, and second guessing ourselves and things like that. We are in studio with Congresswoman Marie Newman, former Congresswoman. Whenever I say people get confused, you're supposed to use their last elected position. Her book is A Life from Scratch. Go to marienewmanstudio.com to order the book, or Barnes & Noble. And those are the two we'll tell you about. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KKNW 1150, Seattle, Washington.
This is a WCPT Moment in Labor. On March 25th, 1911, in Manhattan, a fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory killed 146 workers, who were mostly women. The victims of the fire were unable to leave the burning high-rise building due to the exits being locked, and were forced to leap to their deaths from the 8th, 9th, and 10th floors. Locking doors was a common practice to reduce theft and unauthorized breaks at workplaces. As a result of the fire, the New York State Legislature formed the Factory Investigating Commission, whose findings led to 38 new laws regulating labor. Some of the new laws mandated better egress, the installation of better alarm and sprinkler systems, and increased availability of fire extinguishers. Coincidentally, the American Society of Safety Professionals was formed, which now manages, researches, and consults occupational safety and health across 75 countries. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We are working for your rights.
Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed's sponsored jobs feature helps you stand out and hire fast. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News, I'm Ben Thomas. Pakistan's Prime Minister says his country has every right to give a robust response to what he calls an act of war. India's fired missiles across the border into Pakistani-controlled territory in at least 3 locations, where security officials say a child has been killed, at least 2 other people wounded. India says it was striking infrastructure used by militants. Tensions have soared between the nuclear-armed neighbors over last month's militant attack on tourists in the Indian-controlled portion of Kashmir. Israel's military says it's fully disabled the international airport in Yemen's capital, with airstrikes targeting Houthi rebels. It's retaliation for a Sunday strike on Israel's international airport. Meantime, President Trump says after a nearly 2-month U.S. campaign against the Houthis,
they have capitulated.
And he says they pledged to stop attacking ships in the Red Sea.
I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis.
President Trump says 3 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza have died, leaving only 21 believed to still be alive. And Ed Donahue reports flights are still being delayed and canceled at Newark Liberty International Airport.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says controllers handling the planes in Newark lost communication for 30 seconds last week after the control center's primary communication line went down and a backup line failed to kick in.
The whole system needs to be redone. We need to build a brand new air traffic control system.
Traffic was reduced at Newark to ensure safety. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says President Trump's FAA has failed spectacularly this year.
We have seen chaos throughout the administration, and clearly it's here at the FAA, an agency that cannot afford any chaos whatsoever, because lives are at stake.
Duffy's FAA overhaul has been in the works since the aftermath of the deadly mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. in January. Ed Donahue, Washington.
This is AP News. Tomorrow's the deadline for having a real ID to fly, but Sagamagani reports don't panic if you don't. Just be prepared.
People will be allowed to fly.
Homeland Security Chief Kristi Noem tells a House panel TSA checkpoints will also accept passports and tribal identification for travelers who do not have a real ID.
They may be diverted to a different line, have an extra step.
Noem says 81% of travelers are already real ID compliant. Everybody else needs to be.
It's a pain in the butt.
Michael Aceto is among those at a Pennsylvania DMV waiting hours for a new ID, along with Renelle Leggett.
Same picture, the same information. I don't think it's making much of a positive impact.
Homeland Security says it'll be a more secure form of ID, recommended by the 9/11 Commission and signed into law 20 years ago. Sagar Magani, Washington.
And I'm Ben Thomas, AP News. Thanks for listening.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low of 54 degrees. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 61 degrees and winds out of the north at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 54 and northeast winds at 10 to 20. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 59 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high of 65 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high temperature around 63. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 77.
The impact of a meal goes well beyond feeding our bodies, because feeling full can sound like this.
How did the interview go? I did it! I got the job! I can't believe it!
And like this.
Mom, I got first place at the science fair with my volcano project.
That's amazing, sweetie. Congratulations.
Because when people are fed, futures are nourished, and everyone deserves to live a full life. Join the movement to end hunger at feedingamerica.org/act now. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
He has an overbite that makes him look like a cartoon character, a slightly crooked eye, and an uncommonly wrinkly neck. In the right light, he can look a little like a garden gnome, and he'll wear a bow tie just because. Sure, you might call him a little quirky, but that's exactly what makes him so perfect. Tuna is a 3-year-old Chihuahua Dachshund mix with more than 700,000 followers on Instagram, and it all started because he was adopted. You can't buy a best friend like Tuna, but you can adopt one. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez. From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing asses says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. And hello to our friends now listening in the evenings on KTNF on 9:50 a.m. in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And our friends listening also in the evenings on KKNW Seattle, Washington, 1150, the alternative voice of Seattle. We're broadcasting here in Chicago on WCPT 820. You can go to heartlandsignal.com if you ever have a little issue with the signal. I know as it gets later in the evening, sometimes it's a little hard to hear. And also listen to us on TuneIn because you don't want to miss this conversation we're having with former Congresswoman Marie Newman, who has written the book A Life from Scratch.
A Life Made from Scratch.
A Life Made from Scratch. I should have looked down.
That's okay.
I thought I had it from memory.
It's okay.
You can go to marienewmanstudio.com to order the book, or Barnes & Noble, or some of your local bookstores.
Yeah, independents too. Yeah, and definitely bookshop.org, guys, out there. Great site. And they give all the money to independents. So
excellent.
God bless.
Bookshop.org.
Yeah.
That is really good to know. And you have an event coming up with a book signing. I know that 40th Ward Committeewoman Maggie O'Keefe and I were talking about this.
Yeah.
Where is this going to be?
So it's going to be at the Bookseller. And very excited about it because it'll be some spicy politics, a little bit about the book, and then a little bit about what's going on right now in our world, right?
Is there anything going on?
Yeah, just a couple.
It's too much. It's too much, Marie.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I will say all of my book events have turned into like a Q&A session where I'm asked very hard questions about what can we do and how to solve it. And, but what has been nice, though, is that as a team, we're coming up with ideas. Like a lot of brainstorming is going on. So it's a little bit like the old days when I was campaigning. Like we would all get together and say, hey, here's this idea. Let's talk about this. So it's been just a wonderful set of events that turned what was going to be 3 events has turned into 15 events in the Chicago area.
Because we need you. And I think that you also, because I think you came out so vocally about what Democrats need to do, right? And I know that we've had this period of, sort of this, what's the circular firing squad a little bit. Yeah. But it comes from a place of wanting to make sure that people have protections, that they have, I mean, so many things are being chipped away. I mean, the denial of due process. At least we are seeing people in Iowa screaming about this, right? Which we know that folks in Iowa are predominantly voting for Donald Trump. Yeah. It makes a difference.
I think it's changing.
I think it's changing. I know that a lot of us wish it was faster. We knew people were going to get hurt.
Oh,
we knew people were going to suffer.
Yeah.
And we also want to know what we can do next. So what was some of the things I think you had talked about early on, because I was really frustrated with Governor Newman and former Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Newsom, sorry, you're Newman. Yeah. He's Newsom, and immediately throwing people under the bus, including saying that I don't want to hear about bathrooms anymore, or transgender athletes shouldn't participate. It's unconscionable.
Yeah, you don't ever acquiesce to an enemy when you know the enemy is wrong. So
yes.
It is just a rule. It's a human rule, but also a rule of politics, right? So the answer to that gross question, and it shouldn't be a question, is I'm for Team America and I'm for everybody in and nobody out. And don't come up with problems seeking solutions that don't exist. It's a non-existent problem and it's a non-existent solution. Stop talking about it. Let's talk about Team America and all the things we can do as a team.
And you also encourage Democrats and everybody to not simply be the resistance. Tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah. So this is semantics. So here's
I know, but I want to understand better too.
But I have a very strong opinion about it. But I'm perfectly fine. Like, you call it what you want. But resistance suggests that you are lightly not allowing something to happen. And an opposition is indicating, not only am I not going to allow it to happen, but here is my statement of the case, and this is how it should be. And we're getting there, right? So we've got some big fighters out there. We've got AOC and Bernie out on the trail doing the Fight Oligarchy tour. I think that's an important statement. I think it's an important statement. Even what Cory Booker did was a good statement, right? And so what I keep telling everybody is throw out, there is no wrong answer here, by the way. And by the way, there is no silver bullet. We got to keep doing everything. They're throwing chaos at us. We're throwing it right back. And so that's it. Everybody's got to speak up in whatever way that they choose to do it. But it does have to be a lot. It has to be consistent and every week.
Yeah, it's sustained. Sustained opposition. Okay, I love that. And where does this, I know that your book, A Life Made from Scratch, really shares a lot of your personal life and growing up. Do you remember a moment like realizing that you're somebody that wants to stand up for other people?
Yeah, I do. I have a funny high school story. So in high school, I think I was like 90 pounds soaking wet, right around there.
Are you more than that now?
I love you. I love Patti Vasquez even more now.
I'm just saying.
I'm giving her a kiss and a hug over the. So, but I remember I was a freshman, sitting at a table, and I overheard some football players that were all seniors sitting at a table making fun of the special resource kids. And I lost my ever-loving, you know what?
And I wish you could say it. Go ahead. Yeah. I have a dumb button. Go ahead,
and I ran over there and I said, "You idiots!" But I think there were some other words in there. If I'm being honest.
I love you more. I want to give you a kiss. Go ahead.
Because I had a salty mouth young, and I said, idiots, what are you doing? Who do you think you are? You are the losers. Go apologize to them right now. And I'm screaming, and my friends are like, oh my God, she's going to be like ostracized as a human in high school, because you know how high school is. And what's funny is that a few of them did go over and apologize, and they felt really bad because I kept going, like I was not having it, right? And so they did go over and apologize. But then one of those seniors I dated later, I think I went to homecoming with.
Oh my God. Well, see, but he liked your I guess your chutzpah.
I don't know.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Carl Sandburg in Orland.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Carl Sandburg.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love that story.
So but I just remember my friends going, "What are you doing?" So yeah, and that sense of justice was always like a fire in me, just always. So I think that it is no surprise to anyone I probably got into public service, but it was a circuitous route, right? I mean, I started out in marketing and advertising and was in women's rights and gun reform and a bunch of things, but had a corporate career, had a small business. Was in the anti-bullying movement, built a nonprofit around that, wrote an anti-bullying book, So by the time that I was asked to run for Congress several times by just friends, nobody of import asked me in the political world, but I just jumped in because, again, I saw a need. So it was all of this kind of converged in a very logical way when you look in the rear mirror. But when you're doing it, it's kind of like, okay, are you high?
What are you doing?
You've never even run for student council, Marie. Like, come on.
It has to be so wild to, I mean, and because you're nimble, I think, I don't know if it's something you consider yourself to be, but you're nimble, right? And that's part of your problem solving and building things from scratch. Going from Congress and then working with nonprofits and also writing the book. Yeah. In the meantime, seeing all of this from this point of view, and now we see all the musical chairs that are about to happen with Dick Durbin's seat, with Jan Schakowsky's seat, and then what that implies, sort of that domino effect. Is it good for? A lot of us feel like it's good for going forward to have a shakeup.
I do. I think that I'll say something that will feel unkind in political world, but it's not. The leaders that got us into this mess are not going to get us out of it. It just isn't.
I hear you.
Yeah, and I don't mean that in an unkind way, but we've given them a chance over the last 5 months, and I see, a few here and there, but I don't see what is currently our elected leadership being leaders. I just don't, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful to them in any way. They're just not taking the bull by the horns. If I were in leadership, what I would be doing is I would say, this is what happened this week in Trump world. This is why it's wrong, and here's the counter report. This is how we would have handled it, and have.
And why aren't they doing that? Do you have any answers?
For the life of me, I do not understand. I do think it comes down to their perception of what's important for voters is very different than the voters. Patti, are united right now. All of the independent voters and Democrats are very united right now. I mean, look at the polling we just saw, the Siena poll, the New York Times poll, the Quinnipiac poll. He's in underwater. He's in the high 30s in a bunch of places, he being Trump. So independents and Democrats are very much united.
Yeah.
You know what? They're mad. But then I just saw a Navigator poll. So 71% of this nation doesn't care if you're an R or a D. And that same 71% thinks they're all doing a bad job. All. So why stay on this path? Yeah, we need a counter report that says, that's bad what they're doing. Here's why it's disrespectful, mean, bad, or unlawful. And this is what we would be doing.
Right.
And you know what? Center it around Medicaid, Social Security, and Medicare, and keep it real simple. So for me, I will say this out loud. I think it is malpractice that we had a 930-page tome called Project 2025 for a year, and there was no plan B and no ready plan. Now, the state AGs had a plan, the 17 state AGs that have been doing a fabulous job of litigating this. Mm. But our Democratic leadership did not, and I just have to be honest about that.
Yeah, we appreciate that, and I think that we all agree wholeheartedly. And I think people have talked about that. Whether it's have a shadow, like a shadow cabinet, and doing their own press conferences every day,
have a counter report.
Yeah, and I think people keep talking about, and everyone keeps changing the year of what our project, whatever our agenda. Like,
I don't care. Call it
something.
Tooltown. I don't care. Yeah, you
something.
Call it whatever the hell you want.
Did you feel this way when you were in Congress ever? Like, what do we do?
I just think there's some, interestingly, this very human condition called our egos is both going to lead us out of this, because I think what's going to happen is that Trump is going to push this so far that he's going to try to get rid of Congress and the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And the people in those bodies might not be cool with that.
I would imagine.
So their egos are going to drive them to a place where they're going to finally fight him. But the same thing happens on our team, is that there's so many egos running around that they never get anything done. Because when I was in Congress, I'd be like, okay, you do you. I'm just going to go do this thing because you guys can't, be on the same page even in our party.
Yeah.
So
it's very frustrating. We're in studio with Marie Newman, former Congresswoman. And I know some of you are very salty still, and so am I. I think we need her. Because I get the feeling, and we'll talk about this when we come back, that I feel like you did your job in a way that said, if I'm not doing it the way I should be, then vote me out.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. Yeah.
But then other elements came to work that part wasn't even a choice for the many people in your community, and that you represented. We are talking to Marie Newman, who will be at the Bookseller on May 22nd, 7 p.m. You can go to booksellerinc.com. That's Bookseller with C, like your cellar, not selling, but like in the basement. Bookseller Inc. There you go. Yeah. Wine Cellar is even better. I like that that much better. Booksellerinc.com. That's booksellerinc.com. And you can find the event on their website. And it looks like there's a wine glass in the books. Oh, I see what it is like wine cellar. Oh, I get it all now. I must go to there. Maybe we should broadcast from there that night. Wouldn't that be fun? What day is it? The 22nd? Everybody in the station's like, we did what?
Stop.
Why
Patty.
are you doing production on here? Go to booksellerinc.com, or you can go to marienewmanstudio.com and order the book, A Life Made from Scratch. More in a moment with our guests on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950.
A Better Life with Dr. Sanjay Gupta.
Hypertension or high blood pressure is often referred to as the silent killer. That's because of the significant negative impact it can have on your health, even before you know you have the condition. Case in point, the most recent government statistics show that more than 3/4 of the 120 million Americans who have hypertension do not have it under control. First things first, you should know what your blood pressure is. And you can do this right at home. Sitting, feet flat on the floor, legs uncrossed, put the cuff at heart level with your arms supported on a table. A reading at or above 130/80, that means you have high blood pressure. To lower it, you can do a few things. Eat a healthier diet, get more exercise, quit smoking for sure, and drink less alcohol. Now, even if you do all those things, you might sometimes still need a medication to bring those numbers down. I'm Dr. Sanjay Gupta, helping you live a better life.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-source single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Are you annoyingly inattentive? Do you watch a movie and then ask a zillion questions because you weren't paying attention? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help anyone sleep. Come soon to Mattress Firm's Memorial Day sale. Get a king bed for a queen price and save up to $700. Plus, get a free adjustable base with select Sealy mattresses. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
Thank you so much for joining us. We are in studio with former Congresswoman Marie Newman, author of the book Life Made from Scratch. She will be at the Bookseller, that's CELLAR. Go to booksellerinc.com to make reservations to join them on May 22nd. The event is at 7 p.m. And and she's done so much work. This is your second book after When Your Child is Being Bullied, Real Solutions?
Yeah, I did that one 14 years ago. I can't believe it. Yeah.
Oh, my God. Now, was that born from both of your children?
So my son was bullied severely when he was like in third, fourth, and fifth, to the point of therapy and trauma and a bunch of things.
Did he develop an ulcer like I did and get very sick in school?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. No, he didn't, but I was lucky.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, but I get it.
That does happen.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Real.
I know.
That's real.
Yeah. So sorry. But yes,
Yeah.
so he was being bullied through fifth grade.
And there was, back
what
then.
is it about that age? I don't think people understand. They don't get the depths of how bad it can get in that age group.
And we were in a community that I absolutely loved, but there were just a few where it was just a very competitive place, right? And so was not surprised to see this evolve out, and had no idea how to deal with it, by the way, because all the kind of tools that you're given, and this is like 15 years ago, right? So I didn't know how to deal with it. And what I realized is that a very dear friend of mine who wrote the book with me, Jackie, and I sat down and she's like, you know what, we have to write a manual. We did all this research. We have developed a plan for Northern Illinois. Worked with Governor Quinn's team on a bill. We got to write a book. And so we did.
That's amazing. Yeah. It was here in Norwood Park. I went to Onahan down the street, and I was actually at the funeral for Captain David Meyer, who was killed in a fire 2 weeks ago. And I was in line at the funeral home, and this is just because that's how my brain works. I have to tell you, I was in line, and David Meyer was one of the kids that was kind to me, but there were kids it was bad. And I was telling one of the guys behind me who had gone to school, it was funny, his name's Joe Coakley, and I was telling him that Dave was one of the kids that made me feel safe.
Yeah.
And it was no surprise to me. He grew up to be someone who ran towards danger, right? But I told Joe Coakley, like, these kids used to hold me down and force feed me garbage from the on the playground. And Joe Coakley, it was so but here's the thing, Joe Coakley's like, who? Like, he had this voice of like, who? Tell me who it was. He was gonna go find them now. I was like, Joe, it's okay. Tell me who they are. I'm like, Jeff Kalnick. And I'm like,
really, here's their number.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can see why I carry grudges. But your son's story, how does he talk about it even now? Because
not so much. He did a great job. I mean, luckily we had great therapists and great schools and a lot of really good help, right? But we did move. I mean, to be clear, like it got so bad that I tell this story in the book. Is one day he came home and he said, "Mom, I think I know how we're going to fix this." And this is an 11-year-old brain, right? And so he sat down and said, "I have an idea. What if I get into a really bad car accident?"
Yep.
And then I come back as someone different.
Oh, baby.
I know, right? Like, that blows your hair back as a parent, right? I knew that right then. I'm like, okay, I got to go get that mama sword out of the, out of the back of the closet.
I thought you were going to say that that people would feel, they wouldn't beat up on him anymore because they would feel sorry for him. It was so much worse.
Yeah. So, and it wasn't
that'd
that
be so scary.
And it wasn't that he wanted to go away. He just thought like, that it was like a play, right? That you could just so I wasn't necessarily worried that he was, had self-harm in mind, but
his solution.
Yeah, the fact that you had to, like a young, tender age to say that, like, that makes you sit up and pay attention. And, I really did at that point. I'm like, okay, we got to solve this thing. So I did what I always do. I started talking about it, started normalizing it. Like, look, folks, in the town that I was in, this is bad.
And were you getting, because with us at Onahan, it was basically like, that's happening after school hours. There's nothing we can do about it.
There was a little of everything, but I will tell you that one night I just opened up real loud at a PTA meeting, and I came home and I got 60 phone calls from parents crying, saying, "My child's being bullied too. Thank you for saying something."
That's great.
So sometimes when you just are honest about stuff, it's the best thing in the world.
I hear that. Again, the event is on May 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Bookseller. What neighborhood is? I don't even know what the address is. It's got to be in the 40th Ward if Maggie O'Keefe is hosting it.
It is, yeah.
So it's in the 40th Ward. It's over by there. I have to look up the address. I will find it while we're talking during this conversation. When you were putting this together, like, how do you pick the parts of your life? Did you have someone sort of helping you organize?
That probably would have been the smart thing to do. Getting some help.
Because it's a lot to go through your life.
It is. And I think that, and that was part of my question when I was like, okay, should I do this or not, is that let's have it be, so somebody came up and said, Marie, you can do a prescriptive memoir, right? You can tell stories and then help people understand what you learned. And so really that's how it's divided. Each chapter is a story and then a series of takeaways and some blueprinting around what you can do, right? To manage things. And so, and then out of that, what I did was I built a series of 6 planning guides for very specific issues, like how do you start a social justice movement? How do you do a political campaign? How do you work with mental health in your family? My family has mental health challenges. Normalizing that and organizing that, right? How do you do that in your life? So I built this planning guide system too. So they kind of all lived together in my head.
That's amazing. And are you constantly writing things down? Are you using technology to like note take? And
I do. I use my phone a lot to, the notes section to take things down, because I have a Substack column, comes out on Wednesday mornings, and I have very different ideas each week. So I usually start by, recording something and then build from there.
Yeah. It makes complete sense. Yeah. I love that. Again, the event is going to be at the Bookseller on May 22nd. That's at 4736 North Lincoln Avenue in the 6065. So it's kind of like the Ravenswood area, it looks like. I used to live over by there. So kind of Lincoln and Lawrence for folks who want to make reservations. You can go to thebooksellerinc.com. Was there something that surprised you along the way while you were writing this about yourself? The memories, because it stirs a lot of emotions, too.
It is, what was great to get on paper is to apologize for doing dumb things. I was really honest about things like, particularly in the political world, like I should have made amends with my former opponent, right? And I never did make amends with him, and I should have sat down, and it was during COVID. So I used the excuse of, I tried once, he didn't respond. I should have tried harder, because he's a human being, too. And as much as we don't have the same values, he is a human being. And so I try to share the bad things that I did that were good lessons for everybody in the world, right? Like, make amends with folks,
Marie Newman does not endorse nor condone what I say next. If anyone knows Lindsay LaPointe, tell her there's still time. I'm just saying. I mean, because people make choices, and then, that's what I had heard. I had heard that no effort was ever made. There was never even a phone call. Yeah. People have told me how surprising it is that there wasn't even an effort. Mm-hmm. So that was a Republican candidate that you were running against, that you tried to.
One would think, but it is not. Actually, when I ran in 2018 and won in 2020, I was running against a very conservative Democrat.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But I always referred to him as a Republican, because I felt like.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, but I think, like in other instances, I think that's an important lesson for everybody in situations to, be able to identify, be mindful of what you do. Yeah. Right. Choices that you make. Let's take a quick break here. Like I said, former Congresswoman Marie Newman did not endorse that. That was just my own thoughts. We'll take a break here and continue our conversation. And folks, if you want, I think we can take calls if folks want to call in. 773-763-9278. If you have any questions or comments, we're hanging out with Marie Newman, author, former Congresswoman. And you can go to marienewmanstudio.com to order the book, or you can go to the Bookseller, or book, what was the other one you said supports independent book owners?
Bookshop.org is a great online platform for independent bookstores. And it's a great way to get my book and many other books in a way where independent stores benefit.
Outstanding. We'll take a break here and continue our conversation when we come back on WCPT, KKNW, and KTNF.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
I'm meteorologist Ray Miller from the Weatherology Weather Center. Clear skies tonight with a low of 54 degrees. Wednesday, sunny with a high temperature of 61 degrees and winds out of the north at 15 to 30 miles an hour. Thursday, sunshine with a high temperature of 54 and northeast winds at 10 to 20. Friday, sunshine with a high temperature around 59 degrees. Saturday, sunny with a high of 65 degrees. Sunday, lots of sun with a high temperature around 63. That's the latest Chicago weather update. Right now, it's 77.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Today, 1 in 5 working-age Americans has a mental health condition.
People in all types of jobs and at all levels.
And the key to helping us succeed is a supportive and inclusive workplace.
All of us have a role to play in making that happen.
So what can I do to help?
As a CEO, I can set the tone for supportive culture.
As a manager, I can offer assistance and accommodations.
As a coworker, I can listen and be a source of support to my colleagues.
As someone with a mental health condition, I can ask for what I need to perform my best.
I can offer all employees the supports they need to deliver on the job. For the team
and for the business.
What can I do?
What can I do?
What can I do?
I can remind others
that we all benefit from workplaces that promote good mental health.
Mental health-friendly workplaces are more important than ever.
And all of us have a role to play in promoting them.
Learn more at whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
If you're listening to this station right now, you've definitely heard my voice before. Hi, I'm Hawk.
And I'm Pete. And we're with Source Solar, your local source for solar. Source Solar is Chicagoland's premier solar installer, providing solutions for over 1,000 homeowners and business owners across Illinois and Iowa.
With over a decade of industry experience and deep roots here in Chicago, we have the expertise to help your transition to clean, renewable, resilient energy.
We can guarantee that we save you money day one without any out-of-pocket cost to you. This means you have an instant ROI, instant payback, and can save money to add to your bottom line day one.
At Source Solar, we source everything as local as possible, meaning we always carry the Made in USA sticker.
Find us online at www.source.solar. Stop in our office at 5710 North Northwest Highway or give us a call at 773-985-3992.
And don't forget to ask for Hawk
or Pete.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez.
I've been telling Congresswoman Marie Newman why I'm so petty, and we'll leave it at that. I will tell you, this is how petty I am, Congresswoman. I've been writing. I do stand up comedy, and I've been writing about how I love ghost stories, and I realize I think I want to be a ghost, not like anytime soon, and I don't want to be like a really scary ghost that writes in blood on the walls, like get out or anything like that. I want to be a ghost that just like with mild annoyances, like your sock always feels really wet, right? Like when you try to autocorrect something, it's always cussing like at your boss, like that kind of. I want to be Patty the petty ghost. Yeah. That's so to people who've wronged me. Yeah. And then when those people are gone, I will go after people who do things that bug me, like not coming to a complete stop, especially in school zones. They will always have a hairline crack in their windshield. See, they can never, no matter how many times they get it fixed. So that's how petty I am.
I actually think that's a harmless way as a constant reminder to those individuals. So right. I'm okay with Patty the ghost.
Yeah, Patty the petty ghost. I know it's not. I have to work on being able to articulate it too. Yeah. Marie Newman has written the book "A Life Made from Scratch." She'll be at the bookseller on May 22nd in the we know it's in the 40th Ward, and we know it's on Lincoln Avenue near Lawrence. It is at 4736 North Lincoln Avenue. It's going to be at 7:00. And what kind of when you talk to folks, and I know that people want to talk about what's happening now. Yeah. I also want to focus again on your book and what are some of the things that are resonating that you're noticing with folks who read this book.
When I'm doing, I tour, and I'm here in the Chicago area, and then I'm going to go outside Chicago in a few weeks. But here in the Chicago area, the most kind of thing, the feedback I get is that I feel so uplifted by where you were and where you landed each time, because it was a roller coaster, right? And I think that if that can help people understand that at the bottom of the bottom, there's always a place to go, right? And it is up, but you do have to, walk up a really steep stairwell usually. And so I think people feel uplifted by it, but I also think they feel like I have a very realistic way of handling things, and it's through this very dorky planning process I have. I am very dorky with process. Like I just am as a mom, as a organizer, I was a management consultant, I was a marketing executive, and I love me some process. So yummy. Like, love it.
That's amazing. Yeah. What was your favorite part about running for office before you even got to Congress?
You know what I absolutely loved was when I would have meet and greets, we'd sit down and I'd say, what is bothering you? What can I do for you? And what is your top concerns, right? Mm-hmm. and they would share with me, and I always learned something. And then we would take notes on it. And then later, actually, I passed 3 bills with the kind of the consensus of what those meetings were about, right? So I did 343 meet and greets in 365 days on my 2020 race. And I learned so much from the constituents in those meetings. That was so exciting. And I just felt like we were such a team. I would say all the time on the campaign trail is that we're running this race together. We're a team and we're partners. So when I was a congressperson, I called constituents partners because I really felt like we were all on the same page.
Okay. I can't help but feel robbed that you're not there anymore. I don't know what to tell people. It's. I also work a lot with former Senator Dan Katowski, and I feel the same. I mean, I know that he does great work now, and I know that he left he was losing his mind in Springfield with the Rauner administration.
Such a great guy.
Oh, I mean, you remind me of each other. Your passion for helping people, learning from them, because that's when I would go. He would go door knocking with us, and he taught me the same thing. Ask people, what's bothering you, what's on your mind, what are your concerns, how can I help? That's exactly. You guys are just. I love your cloth that you're cut from. Let me get to. I know Paul had called earlier, so I'm glad you called back. Hey, Paul, you're on with Congresswoman Marie Newman. I hate saying former because I'm salty today. But at any rate, what's on your mind, my friend?
You were talking about people with disabilities, your own child, and I learned last week from another colleague in the blind community that DOJ has defunded the audio library for the blind.
Yeah.
And I wrote, this is the point. This has helped me understand these people. I wrote an article on Facebook, about 500 words, and I guess I learned, we're birds of a feather, Patty, because I'm very snarky too. And the satire was, it was clearly Jonathan Swift type stuff. I remember Jonathan Swift wrote, what was it? It was a cookbook of how to make recipes out of babies, since England was letting them all die anyway. But I said that, first I said, what kind of alien monsters defund audiobooks for the blind? And I said, oh, well, let's look at it their way. Blind people are all stupid, retarded, and useless anyway, and they're probably never going to end up end up paying any taxes. They're never going to end up paying taxes, Patty,
I just was jarred by how cavalierly I know that you're reflecting them, but it's a hard word. Go ahead.
Well, this is okay. Well, this is what you have to do.
I know, but you also wouldn't say the N word on the. I'm just saying. I'm just pointing that out. Go ahead. If you were to be talking about how they talk.
Wait a minute, Patty. I've been blind all my life, so I know what the stereotypes are.
That's fair.
So,
okay. Yes.
Okay. So then I said, well, it's not a surprise. They defunded Meals on Wheels, and I said, well, good thing Mom died last year, or she'd have starved to death this year. Oh, well, she was 95. She didn't deserve to live anymore because, sucking down all that Social Security that she paid in for 67 years since she was 15 years old and retired at age 82. She didn't deserve to live. Okay, so I posted this. The satire was not lost on anybody who replied, except maybe for the MAGAs. The vitriol that came out of them as to every word in the book that I got. And I said, what are you angry about? You don't believe me? One guy said, what's your source? I said, I'm a member of the blind community. I've worked in services for the blind, and I'm blind myself. I mean, just because it wasn't in the news, there are thousands of cuts that DOJ has made that the news media hasn't picked up on. And this just happens to be one that you didn't know about, so you're calling me an a-hole, and this is BS. I thought these are the cuts that you wanted. I thought this is what you voted for. What's the anger? And why aren't you defending these cuts? I mean, if this is what you want, why don't you defend it? Well, I mean, they're weird. It's like, what is the vitriol? Why, what is the anger about? I mean, if you could just say that's not true, but the vitriol is that satire actually hits them where it hurts. Because that's what I said. I said, you're angry because this is the kind of a-hole you really are. And that's it.
Yep. They certainly show their true colors. I'm glad you get to vent, and thank you for your call, Paul.
Take care.
Thank you. You too. Take care. By the way, Patty, I want to point out Congressman Sean Casten is progressive, dedicated, energetic, and amazing. Even though you're sad that Marie Newman lost, please be aware how fortunate we are to have a Dem Rep Sean Casten. Both things can be true. I can still be salty about redistricting. Just reading some text. Also want to. It was Dan Lipinski. I forgot the name. Was in
2020.
In 20. That's Nancy too. By the way, she was the one that called and was salty for you.
Yeah.
Just want you to know she's fantastic. Let's get to Jack in Chicago. Hey, Jack, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I'm a fellow Wisconsin door knocker.
Hey,
Southeast Wisconsin. I've made a couple of trips up there recently.
You're a fellow fib for Wisconsin. Thank you.
Yes. Well, it's a good place to knock on doors. It's fun.
It really is.
Enjoy it. And I appreciate former Congresswoman coming on. And the statement that you made about, our leaders aren't going to get us out of this. That really resonates with me. I think you're 100% correct. Democrats had a chance to stop this. There were things we could have done, and you can. I'm going to put this out there. You can comment on it. That we could have done between 2020 and 2022, when we had the majority in both houses and the White House. There were things that we could have done. It would have taken some bold, risky moves, but we didn't do it. We could have revised the Judiciary Act and then knocked the Senate filibuster out to get that thing passed and give Joe Biden 5 more Supreme Court seats so that this bunch of idiots that are on there now, we could have done all kinds of things. We could have overturned that ridiculous immunity ruling. We could have saved Roe. We could have overturned Citizens United. It would have required some bold thinking. It would have required some bold moves. It was the president that didn't want to do that. And that would have stopped all of this. A progressive Supreme Court bent on justice could have expedited that insurrection trial, branded the guy an insurrectionist. He could be in Guantanamo now if one of the Supreme Court justices had picked up that case and expedited that. And yes, that's a big move. Packing the Supreme Court, nobody likes to do those kind of things, but it would have saved us from all of the trouble that we've got now. And I think that's what they should have done.
Can I take a break and come back? Because I want to make sure you said a lot of things that I think a lot of us feel. And I want to find out what the former Congresswoman's thoughts are on that, Marie Newman, and give her a chance to take a moment while we take this break. Thank you so much, Jack. Hold on the line. More after this on WCPT 820, KKNW 1150, and KTNF AM 950.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from TuneIn. But now you have another option. We're simulcasting our programming overnights. 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on WSBC AM 1240 for a clearer reception in and around the city. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. And now overnights on WSBC 1240 AM, where facts matter.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the mid-1800s, many American women were expected to follow what history calls the cult of true womanhood, where men would go off to work and women would stay home, taking care of the house, their children, and husbands. During the Civil War, many women left their homes to join the fight. Thousands of women from the North and South volunteered to join brigades, while over 400 women disguised themselves as men to fight in the war. In the Union, 20,000 white and African American women worked as nurses, traveling from hospital to hospital, offering care to wounded soldiers, even helping to convince the government to create the United States Sanitary Commission to create a preventive, hygienic, and sanitary service for the benefit of the Army. During the Civil War, women were faced with new duties, challenging many men's minds to what should be a proper woman's place.
As farmers and ranchers, stewardship of the land comes naturally. Your work keeps our water clean, improves the soil, and enhances wildlife habitat. It also provides countless benefits, not just for you and your family, but for millions of Americans who depend on this region every day without even realizing it. Thank you for being stewards of America's prairie for all of us. Take a moment to find out how conservation pays. Visit conservationpays.org.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates. So it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Arminetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beers posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com.
Patti Vasquez is taking your calls now.
All right, let's hit it.
At 773-763-9278.
I got a lot to say.
He's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
On May 22nd, you can see and go to the Q&A for the book signing of A Life Made from Scratch by former Congresswoman Marie Newman. Is this Mompreneur?
Yeah.
Am I saying that right?
You are.
Mompreneur. I love that too. And just really an innovative and nimble, wonderful mind. I love the work that you're doing and what you're sharing with us. Our listener, Jack, is on the line, who had asked us before the break or was talking about the things that woulda, coulda, shoulda. Mm-hmm. Do you have those moments of, having those conversations, reflecting back on the pre-Roe v. Wade being overturned, what we learned about Clarence Thomas and Sam Alito and Harlan Crow and all these things?
I think that Jack, our caller, is exactly right. Had we been bold enough to make a couple of bold moves, is to do, there was an act called Expand the Judiciary, and that was would create a 15-person bench, right? Supreme Court. I think that would have resolved a lot of things if everybody had gotten on board with that. We had the majority. Would have solved a lot of problems very quickly. If we had, actually in the Build Back Better bill, if we had kept immigration reform and universal child care in there, we wouldn't have all the problems that we have right now. If we had safeguarded some of the issues that we have had to deal with in the last 4 months, we would have been better. So there's a lot of legislation that could have happened. So boldness, I think, will be the word of the day in the coming campaigns. I said this recently, I forget which social media platform I put it on, is that the only candidates and electeds that will get reelected or elected in 26 and 28 will require bold ideas and transformative ideas. The others will not get reelected. I have to tell you, I talk to voters every day, and they are not having it. And whether you're an independent, a formerly known as a centrist, or whatever you are, everybody's on the same page. Voters are united. You got to fight. Two things. You got to fight, and you got to have bold changes.
And do you think that this then changes the sort of dynamics that we're used to of, what the big, powerful endorsements are, where the money's coming from? If the message isn't resonating, I don't care how many mailers we get or how many commercials you get. If it's not talking about the judiciary, if it's not talking about what you mentioned earlier, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, people don't want it.
Yeah, I think that you'll see that what happened in Kamala's race, right, is that she had the largest door-knocking operation of any presidential candidate ever in our history. She had $1.5 billion she raised in 3.5 months. And look, we still came up short. So it doesn't matter. You have to be strategic, and it's not just message, it's not just platform, it's the aesthetic. What people tell me under 40, what they saw is the aesthetics of both candidates were the same, meaning that, they had different brands and different messages and different platforms, but the aesthetic was these two corporate people, and it was a change election. I guess they're both equally corporate and yucky. I'm going to choose the person that would be change. That's why people chose Trump. Change, and he demonstrated he's a fighter. By the way, to every candidate that's listening and to every elected, start fighting right now and be a fighter, or else you will not get elected. I'm just guaranteeing you right now.
And what are some of the things that you would say, like a candidate? How does a candidate fight? Is it something like what they say on social media? Is it leading protests?
It is everything. You have to have a toolkit, right? What every candidate and elected member of any body right now should be doing is having a kit for their constituency saying, you guys do this. This is what we're going to do together. And then the third list is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to, gum up the works legislatively every day and put a motion to adjourn on the floor every morning. I am going to do this legislatively and that. And then I'm going to work with you at these protests. And then I'm going to have a counterpoint. Every Friday, I'm going to come and tell you what the counterpoint is. So every member of Congress, every state senator, every state rep, county member, whatever it is, you should have a plan for your district, period.
Yeah, I agree. Jack, does that answer some of your questions?
It sure does. I tell you, the guy that I really like right now is David Hogg.
Yeah,
he's got some ideas, and it's he's getting attacked for it. But,
oh my God, yeah.
But I don't care if you primary a safe Democrat with a Democrat who's going to go in there and do something,
right?
Because they're really not doing it. They're protecting their turf.
Yep, that part.
And they're not. It's not going to solve this problem.
No,
because the other side owns the turf right now.
That's right.
And they're calling all the shots. And if Democrats aren't willing to take some risks, if they're going to play it safe, if they're not even going to use the filibuster to shut the government down when he wants something,
yep,
then somebody else needs to be in there to do it. And I don't care if it's an independent, or a renegade. If they're willing to do it, then they've got my vote, and that guy has my attention.
Yeah. There you go. Thank you, Jack. It was great to hear from you.
Thank you.
Talk to you again soon. And then Mike and Marcy. We have two people on the line. Mike and Marcy. Hey, hello. You're on the air. Hi.
Yeah. Hi, you do. I'm calling because I was hearing some of the talk about kids that are disabled, autism, and different things that really need taxpayer support and donations. And I wanted people to think about something. The state facilities I have firsthand experience with treat these young adults, because children do become adults. And when they have these problems, and if you're in an administration that's going to cut programs, people are losing jobs, they can't afford to raise their child into the 20s and even 30s, 40s, 50s, when they're a full-grown adult, they go to state facilities. And I call these state facilities Trump towns because they're already horrible. For example, the dinner this evening was French fries with cheese all over it, just that in a tray with butterscotch pudding and a small cup of that and coleslaw. And there's no freedom whatsoever in these facilities. People just stare at a TV all day long, and they pass out meds, they go to bed, they eat really horrible food that they call heart healthy. They don't even communicate with people. There's a girl named Julia that has to wear a helmet because she bangs her head into things because she's frustrated. Because here's a quote from one of the doctors. He said, "This will cause anxiety, depression, and suicide." So we already have facilities that are like this.
We're talking about facilities in Illinois, right? Yeah. I've said this before.
Yes,
we're one of the worst. This is why I ran for office. This is why I started advocating in Springfield over a decade ago, because we continue to be. And I ran because I wanted life to be better for everybody, so that we were putting our money where our values are, including supporting our community. I have an adult son who will need lifelong care in one of these facilities we're talking about. We're one of the worst in the country. Yeah. So you are, and I think a lot of our listeners know that we talk about this, and I really appreciate you wanting to share your perspective with us.
We're 47th for funding mental health care.
Right. Yep,
but everybody in this country will experience at some time in their life, even in the DSM, grief is a mental illness. People need help in certain times in their lives, and it is not going to happen. These facilities are little templates for a concentration camp. And I don't mean to scare people, but I'm being astonished as to how people are treated. Actually, a unit at Chicago Read, it's the Spanish unit, is undocumented people, which I'm like, thank God Yoli is not being taken by ICE. And she's in a wheelchair because they refuse to walk her with a walker, and they tell her, siéntate, sit in the chair, sit in the bed. what do you think happens to a body? Years of being forced to sit in a chair in a corner, staring at a TV, and sleeping in a bed. Your body's atrophy. And one of the doctors said atrophy is very, very painful.
I know.
And I've been trying to raise some awareness. I put up a Facebook page because of this.
And where do you, hold on the line and let me get some information, because we're on the radio and it's not a lot we can do directly to get more information. But can you hold on, Lady B? Can you grab her email? Thank you so much. Thank you.
I would love that, because people need help in these facilities, and like these PD and autistic people on an acute unit. This Julia has been on that acute unit for like over 5 years, and they don't play games with her. They don't do anything. One of the psychiatrists left. She used to give her this little thing that would project light up on the ceiling so she could look at it at night. I used to write little papers. When she would come out of her room, it would say soft kitty, cute bunny, different things, so that her mind would go to something pleasant.
I know.
But it's horrible. We're talked to like dogs, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and it's a template.
I know that it sounds like I'm just saying I know.
Psychiatrists, the men behind Hitler.
I know, and I know that it's only going to get worse, and I know that it sounds like I'm trying to be dismissive, but I am, believe it or not, in your situation. I have a nonverbal son, so that's why I want to ask for more information and see what I can do to learn more is the best I can do right now. And I wish you the very best, because we're out of time. Did you want to say something? I won't.
No. All good.
Well, I do want to end on this, because Joan sent me a Rick Pearson from the Chicago Tribune. So I'm going to get some information if you don't mind. Ask her for her email. But Rick Pearson says there's an advisory from Illinois Dem Governor J.B. Pritzker's office on a planned Wednesday visitor of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to Springfield. We would urge all pet owners in the region to make sure all of your beloved animals are under watchful protection while the secretary is in the region. Thank you, Joan Esposito, for sending that text. And also thank you to Congresswoman Marie Newman for joining us, for writing this book, for sharing some insight into what it takes to make a life from scratch. And she'll be at the Bookseller on May 22nd. Go to the booksellerinc.com website and make reservations, or pick up the book from Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, or marienewmanstudio.com. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. So good to be here.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's say bye, everybody. I got to run because I'm late. Super late. Sorry, Lady B.
If you're an experienced homeowner who's outlived your assets or your spouse recently passed away, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local reverse mortgage lender. Alice, 90, widow, income $24,000 a year, living in a $500,000 home with no mortgage. Alice's husband recently passed away.